The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Federation stretched across a kilometer of space, its crystalline dome housing representatives from 10,000 civilizations. High Chancellor Vexthor, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical frame, raised their consciousness core to address the gathered species. The emergency session had been called to address what many considered the greatest threat to galactic stability in millennia: humanity. "We have watched," Vexthor's thoughts resonated through the hall, "as these beings from Sol 3 have defied every prediction, broken every model, and challenged every assumption we held about primitive species development." The Chancellor's energy form pulsed with concern as holographic displays materialized around the hall, showing scenes of human achievements and catastrophes alike. Ambassador Zyra K of the Quantum Collective, her form shifting between states of matter, floated forward. "In mere centuries, they've progressed from primitive combustion engines to quantum manipulation. Their adaptability defies natural law. They've turned our carefully regulated trading systems into chaos with their innovative business practices." The disdain in her voice caused ripples in her quantum state. The evidence mounted as species after species came forward. The hive mind of Rigel presented data showing humans solving problems that should have been beyond their computational capacity. The Silicon Syndicates reported humans reprogramming their unhackable systems. The warrior clans of Antares grudgingly admitted that human military strategies had evolved faster than their predictive algorithms could process. But it was Ambassador Krell, a being of living crystal, who presented the most damning evidence. "They're experimenting with forbidden technologies," he chimed, his crystalline form resonating with anxiety. "Our deep space sensors have detected quantum fluctuations consistent with dimensional barrier research. If they succeed in breaking through, the consequences could collapse reality itself." The hall erupted in waves of terror frequencies. Dimensional barrier research had been banned since the Void War, when an entire galaxy had been accidentally transformed into a recursive time loop. Chancellor Vexthor's form crackled with decision energy. "We cannot risk another Void War. Neither can we allow their unchecked expansion to continue. Traditional containment measures have failed. They simply adapt around them." From the shadows of the hall, a voice like grinding stones emerged. The Ancient One, a being so old it remembered the birth of stars, spoke for the first time in a millennium. "There is one place. One prison they cannot adapt their way out of. Shadowfell." The name alone caused several lesser species to lose molecular cohesion in fear. Shadowfell was a legend, a planet engineered by a long-dead civilization as the ultimate prison. Its atmosphere was toxic, its gravity crushing, its surface ravaged by storms that could tear apart battleships. Native predators evolved there that could hunt light itself. "Shadowfell is a death sentence," protested Ambassador Zyra K, her form stabilizing in shock. "Precisely," the Ancient One rumbled. "Either they will be forced to focus solely on survival, ending their dangerous expansion, or—" The implication hung in the air like a dying star. The vote was called. The decision was made. Humanity would be banished to Shadowfell. The relocation began immediately. The Federation's fleet surrounded Earth with overwhelming force, expecting resistance. Instead, they found something more terrifying: acceptance. As millions of humans were loaded onto transport ships, many treated it like some grand adventure. "A whole new planet to explore," became a common refrain. "And it's trying to kill us? Sounds like Australia 2.0. The Federation's xenopsychologists were baffled. The humans were making jokes about their own exile. They were treating a death sentence as an opportunity. Some were even excited about the challenges ahead. As the last transport ships entered warp space, Chancellor Vexthor felt an unfamiliar sensation in their energy matrix: doubt. The humans' final message to the Federation had been transmitted in all known languages: "Thanks for the new home. We'll be seeing you sooner than you think." The Ancient One, observing the proceedings, experienced an emotion it hadn't felt since the first stars died: fear. Not of Shadowfell's horrors, but of what humanity might become in response to them. As the transport ships vanished into the darkness between stars, carrying their cargo of exiled humans toward their new prison, the Ancient One whispered a truth that sent shivers through the quantum fabric of space itself. The first human dropship crashed through Shadowfell's atmosphere like a meteor, its hull screaming under the assault of acidic clouds. Inside, Commander Raj Patel watched the ship's sensors struggle to make sense of their surroundings. The planet's magnetic fields were chaos incarnate, turning standard navigation systems into expensive paperweights. "Surface touchdown in 3 minutes," announced Lieutenant Isabella Reyes, her hands dancing across controls that were already beginning to corrode from the atmospheric seepage. "Assuming we survive that long." They weren't supposed to survive at all. The Federation's calculations gave humans 6 months at most on Shadowfell. They'd factored in the crushing gravity, the toxic atmosphere, the predators that made Earth's extinct dinosaurs look like house pets. What they hadn't factored in was human spite. The dropship slammed into the surface with enough force to shatter lesser vessels. But human engineers, knowing what awaited them, had rebuilt their ships using techniques learned from studying deep-sea creatures. The hull flexed instead of breaking, absorbed instead of resisting. Through the viewport, Shadowfell revealed itself. The sky was a perpetual storm of purple and black clouds, occasionally split by lightning bolts the size of cities. The ground was a maze of metallic crystalline formations that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. And in the distance, something that looked suspiciously like a mountain stood up and walked away. "Home sweet home," Raj muttered, checking his environment suit seals for the 3rd time. "Let's get to work." The first year was hell. The gravity meant every step was a battle. The atmosphere ate through standard materials like sugar in rain. The local wildlife considered humans to be an interesting new food group. But humans had brought something the Federation didn't expect: their entire scientific and technological database, downloaded into quantum computers. Dr. Naomi Winters led the adaptation initiative. "We're not trying to fight this planet," she explained to the Colonial Council. "We're going to dance with it." Her team began studying everything about Shadowfell, not as obstacles to overcome, but as tools to utilize. They discovered the metallic crystals that dotted the landscape weren't just formations, they were living organisms that absorbed and processed the planet's toxic atmosphere. Within months, human bioengineers had developed a symbiotic relationship with these crystal colonies, using them to create breathable bubbles of air around their settlements. The gravity problem sparked another innovation. Rather than fight against it, they learned to use it. New exercise regimens and dietary supplements helped their bodies adapt, while studying local life forms led to the development of gravity diffusion technology. The same force trying to crush them became the power source for their most ambitious machines. But it was the predators that taught them the most important lesson. A pack of shadow beasts, massive creatures that seemed to be made of living shadow and crystalline armor, attacked one of the outer settlements. Instead of fighting back with conventional weapons, Dr. Winters tried something radical: communication. The shadow beasts, they discovered, weren't just animals. They were intelligent, possessed of a hive mind that spanned the entire planet. After the first successful neural link was established, humanity gained not just allies, but teachers. The beasts had evolved over millions of years to thrive in Shadowfell's hostile environment. Every adaptation, every survival strategy, was stored in their collective memory. "They're not just showing us how to survive here," Naomi reported to the council, her eyes glowing with the neural interface's residual energy. "They're showing us how to evolve." By the end of the 2nd year, the changes were becoming visible. Children born on Shadowfell developed denser bone structures naturally resistant to the gravity. Their eyes adapted to see in the perpetual stormlight, developing a reflective layer that gave them an eerie glow. Their skin began incorporating traces of the living crystals, providing natural protection against the toxic atmosphere. The Federation's prison was becoming humanity's crucible of evolution. In the 5th year, they made their most startling discovery. Deep beneath the surface, in caverns that predated the planet itself, they found evidence that Shadowfell wasn't a natural formation at all. The entire planet was an ancient machine, designed for a purpose that made the Federation's fears look like children's concerns. As Raj stood in the massive chamber, staring at technological marvels that defied comprehension, he couldn't help but laugh. "They didn't exile us," he said, his voice echoing through halls built by gods. "They gave us the keys to the universe." The Federation had meant to write humanity's epitaph. Instead, they had written the prelude to their ascension. As the storms raged above, humanity dug deeper, learned faster, and evolved further than anyone thought possible. They weren't just surviving anymore, they were becoming something new. And in the darkness between the stars, the Federation continued their orderly existence, unaware that their perfect prison was about to produce something they never expected, a humanity reborn in the forge of Shadowfell, ready to return to the stars not as exiles, but as beings that had transcended their own limitations. The storm was gathering. The forge was lit. And humanity was just beginning to understand their true potential deep in Shadowfell's crystal forests, where light bent in impossible ways and gravity played tricks with reality. Director Naomi Winters watched the next generation of humanity at play. Children born on this hellworld bounded through crushing gravity as if it were Earth normal, their crystalline-infused skin glittering as they chased each other between towering crystal spires. "They're not even using grav suits anymore," remarked Commander Patel, his own adapted eyes reflecting the purple lightning that perpetually lit the sky. Unlike the children, his generation still bore the marks of Earth, though time on Shadowfell had changed them too. "Evolution accelerated by necessity," Naomi responded, checking readings on her neural interface. The symbiotic crystal fragments embedded in her nervous system allowed direct communication with Shadowfell's vast network of living crystals. "But what we've discovered in the ancient machine, that's going to change everything." The ancient machine, as they'd dubbed it, wasn't just a planetary installation, it was a genetic engineering system of unprecedented sophistication. The entire planet was essentially one massive evolutionary accelerator, designed to create beings capable of surviving anything the universe could throw at them. In the massive underground facilities, Dr. Marcus Wong led the research team studying the machine's original purpose. "It wasn't built as a prison," he explained during the emergency council meeting. "It's a crucible, designed to forge species into their ultimate forms." The Federation didn't know what they had, they just saw the hostile environment and assumed it was a natural death world. The changes in humanity were accelerating. The neural crystals that had started as external tools were becoming part of human biology. Children were being born with natural crystal nodes in their brains, allowing them to interface directly with Shadowfell's crystalline network. The crushing gravity had triggered adaptive responses that made human bones nearly unbreakable, muscles dense enough to shatter steel. But the most profound changes were happening at the genetic level. The ancient machine wasn't just changing their bodies, it was unlocking potential that had laid dormant in human DNA since the species began. "Watch this," Naomi said to Raj, gesturing to where her teenage daughter Kira stood among the crystal spires. The girl raised her hands, and the crystals responded, bending light and gravity in patterns that defied physics. "They're developing abilities we thought were impossible. The machine isn't just adapting us to survive here, it's evolving us into something beyond human." The implications were staggering. The Federation had meant to imprison humanity, to force them to focus solely on survival. Instead, they'd given them access to technology that was rewriting the very definition of what it meant to be human. In the 10th year of exile, they made contact with the Shadow Beast's hive mind again, but this time, it was different. The new generation, with their crystal-enhanced minds, could communicate with the creatures on a level previously impossible. They learned the truth, the Shadow Beasts weren't just the planet's apex predators, they were its guardians, created by the same ancient race that built the machine. "They were waiting for us," Kira explained, her eyes glowing with internal crystal light. "The ancients knew someone would eventually be sent here, someone with the potential to become what they once were. The Shadow Beasts were left to guide that species, to help them understand the machine's purpose." In the depths of the ancient machine's control center, Marcus's team made another discovery that changed everything. The machine wasn't just on Shadowfell, it was Shadowfell. The entire planet was a single vast organism, a living computer of unimaginable complexity, designed to transform simple species into beings capable of reshaping reality itself. And humanity, through their unexpected adaptability and determination, had proven themselves worthy of its power. As the first decade of exile drew to a close, humanity wasn't just surviving on Shadowfell, they were becoming its masters. The hostile environment that should have killed them had instead become the catalyst for their transformation into something new, something that transcended their original limitations. In the storm-racked skies above, the Federation's automated satellites continued their endless orbit, monitoring what they thought was a prison planet. Below, in the crystal forests and ancient halls, humanity was preparing for their return to the stars. But they would not return as the same species that was exiled. They would return as something more, something that the Federation's worst nightmares hadn't prepared them for: humanity unleashed, humanity evolved, humanity transcendent. The storm was gathering strength. The forge was burning bright. And in its depths, a new form of humanity was rising, ready to reshape the very cosmos that had tried to contain them. In the 15th year of humanity's imprisonment, the skies above Shadowfell blazed with unprecedented energy. Deep within the ancient machine's core, Director Winters and her team had finally unlocked its ultimate purpose. The entire planet wasn't just an evolutionary accelerator, it was a key to something far greater. The ancients didn't just want to create survivors, Dr. Wong explained to the Council of Elders, his crystalline neural pathways glowing with excitement. They wanted to create successors. Beings capable of understanding and wielding the fundamental forces of reality itself. The council chamber, carved from living crystal and humming with the planet's energy, held the leaders of what had become less a human colony and more a new civilization. None of them looked fully human anymore. Generations born on Shadowfell had developed far beyond their ancestral form, their bodies laced with living crystal, their minds linked to the planetary consciousness, their very DNA rewritten by the ancient machine's purpose. Commander Patel, now Admiral of the newly created Stellar Defense Force, stepped forward. Unlike the younger generation, he still retained much of his original human appearance, though his eyes gleamed with internal crystal light. "Show them what we found in the deep archives." The chamber's crystals resonated, projecting a vast stellar map. But this was no ordinary star chart, it showed the universe as the ancients had seen it, revealing layers of reality that human science had never dreamed existed. "The Federation thinks they imprisoned us on a death world," Kira, now head of the Shadow Beast Integration Division, explained. "They don't realize they gave us the keys to the kingdom. Shadowfell isn't just a planet, it's a nexus point, one of several created by the ancients to prepare for what's coming." The projection shifted, showing a massive disturbance approaching the galaxy, a wave of something that defied description, that threatened to unravel the very fabric of spacetime itself. The ancients had seen it coming, had built places like Shadowfell to create beings capable of facing this threat. "The Federation's fear of our potential was actually their greatest mistake," Wong continued. "They sent us to the one place in the galaxy that could help us realize that potential. And now." He gestured, and the crystals around them pulsed with power. The transformation of humanity had reached its critical point. The integration with Shadowfell's crystal network had given them abilities that looked like magic to their former selves. They could manipulate gravity, bend light, even fold space in ways that made traditional faster-than-light travel look primitive. But more importantly, they had learned the truth about their place in the cosmic order. The Federation's attempt to contain them had instead unleashed something far more significant: humanity's true evolutionary destiny. "We're ready for the next phase," Naomi announced. "The ancient machine has completed its work. We've become what the ancients intended, beings capable of standing against the coming storm." The council chamber erupted in discussion as the implications became clear. They weren't just planning to break free from their exile, they were preparing to save the very civilization that had condemned them. In the crystal forests above, the new generation of humans worked in harmony with the shadow beasts, their minds linked through the planetary network. They were building something unprecedented, a fleet of ships that were more organic than mechanical, grown from living crystal and powered by the same forces that made Shadowfell so deadly to their ancestors. Admiral Patel watched the construction through the chamber's viewing crystal. The Federation thought they were writing our ending, he mused. Instead, they were writing their own salvation. The question is, will they be wise enough to accept help from those they tried to destroy? The answer to that question would soon echo across the stars. Humanity was no longer bound by their exile, they had transcended it. The chains meant to bind them had become the tools of their liberation. And in the depths of space, unknown to the Federation, the wave of cosmic destruction drew ever closer, threatening to unmake everything in its path. Only the beings forged in Shadowfell's crucible stood a chance of stopping it. The time had come for humanity to return to the stars, not as exiles seeking revenge, but as guardians of the very reality that had once feared them. The Federation's Grand Assembly Hall fell silent as their worst nightmare materialized in the space above their capital world. The ships appeared without warning, bypassing every defense system as if they didn't exist. But these weren't the crude vessels of the humans they'd exiled 20 years ago, they were living crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light, more like abstract art given form than traditional spacecraft. High Chancellor Vexthor's energy form flickered with distress as the scanners tried and failed to analyze the vessels. Impossible, the Chancellor whispered. Their containment was absolute. Containment? The voice echoed through every communication system simultaneously, and the assembled representatives recognized the impossible. Someone had accessed their supposedly impenetrable quantum network. You gave us the greatest gift in the universe, and you didn't even know it. The holographic projectors flared, and a figure appeared in the center of the hall. She looked almost human, but her skin held traces of living crystal, her eyes glowed with internal light, and her presence seemed to bend reality around her. This was Kira Winters, daughter of Shadowfell, leader of the new human race. We've come to save you, she announced, her voice carrying both power and compassion. Though you don't yet know you need saving. The Ancient One emerged from its centuries-long meditation, its ancient form resonating with recognition. You found it, it said. You've become what they intended. We have, Kira confirmed. And we're not alone. At her gesture, the hall's view screens activated, showing something that made even the Ancient One's crystalline form shudder, a wave of cosmic entropy, visible only through the Ancient's technologies, bearing down on the galaxy. What you're seeing is the end of everything, Admiral Patel's voice rang out as he materialized beside Kira, his aged but enhanced form a bridge between old humanity and new. The Ancients saw it coming. They built Shadowfell and places like it to create beings capable of stopping it. You thought you were imprisoning us, you were actually delivering us to our destiny. The Federation representatives watched in stunned silence as the humans explained what they'd discovered. The Ancients hadn't just been an advanced civilization, they had been reality's immune system, protecting the cosmos from forces that threatened to unravel it. When they foresaw their own extinction, they created places like Shadowfell, crucibles designed to forge new guardians. We're offering you a choice, Kira continued. Join us. Let us teach you what we've learned. Help us save everything, including those who once feared us enough to try to destroy us. Behind her, the crystal ships pulsed with power, and the assembled representatives gasped as their senses expanded, temporarily granted the ability to see reality as the evolved humans now saw it. They witnessed the approaching wave of entropy, understood for the first time the true scope of the threat, and the remarkable chance that their own fear had inadvertently given rise to its solution. The Ancient One moved forward, its form resonating with what might have been laughter. We thought we were the wisest beings in existence, it said. But wisdom, it seems, can come from the most unexpected places, even from a species we tried to imprison on a death world. High Chancellor Vexthor's energy form stabilized as decision crystallized. What would you have us do? Kira smiled, And in that smile was the future of not just humanity, but all intelligent life. Learn with us. Grow with us. Help us save everything. As the Federation representatives voted, this time not to condemn humanity, but to join them in their greater purpose, the crystal ships above pulsed with triumphant light. Humanity had returned to the stars, not seeking vengeance, but offering salvation. Their prison had become their academy, their exile had become their enlightenment, and their seeming end had become everyone's new beginning. In the skies above, the first waves of entropy met something it had never encountered before, a force born in the crucible of Shadowfell, tempered by adversity, strengthened by adaptation, and guided by a wisdom that transcended the cycles of fear and retribution. The universe would survive, and it would be watched over by beings who had learned that even the darkest exile could lead to the brightest dawn. Humanity had not just survived, they had become exactly what the cosmos needed them to be. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all.